ones. They are just living in an ivory castle on top of something, and they are just in a bubble. And they have the badge that I am the artist, I am a thinker, I am a creator, but sometimes you do not have real connections to them. And we had this experience many times when we were doing projects like this, that now here is the opportunity to do something, to show up your artworks, to be part of something good, and it will be presented. And they were not really opened. So if you are talking about how to rediscovering the role of the artist, it's also important to know how to motivate them to do this change. Yes, and as you are artists sitting here, and we have some suggestion for us how to reach them, how to address them.
I think it's changing a bit, at least in Poland, because we had the same problems actually. I think so. So it was the same, but it's changing a bit. So there are starting to be artists interested in ecological things in Poland, especially. Okay, maybe not about the oceans, maybe not about the sea, but we have this forest problems, famous in European Union. So there are a lot of protests, and first it was a social problem. Also Greenpeace, WWF, and a lot of other institutions were involved. But then with the people came artists, and they went to the forest. They started making performances and so on, and some posters. Now it's really growing, but I think that they need a time still. I don't have a clue how to make this process faster, because it's really a big problem actually.
So how can you make artists motivated?
Motivate them to become also part of being the catalyzer.
I mean, well, I think I think it's very difficult you can't make someone do something, and it's also kind of very difficult to make someone care. So I guess all you can really do is like not lead, but by example, and then it's like you can see that you don't have to, like, if more people address these issues in their work, then the range and the scope of what environmental art or art and design addressing these issues is expands, and then it's not just it's this one thing, because I think sometimes people think it's going to be very worthy or very aggressive or things like that, and then sorry. So I guess the more people do it, then it will snowball. But I think I think just a lot of people are very apathetic, and I don't really know how you change that, to be honest. A lot of people, it's I'm going to make this because I want to, and there's no reason, and they just get whatever materials they want, and people don't even think about it or question it. And I think probably because it's when you start, you then start questioning everything, and so I think a lot of people just avoid it, because then if you're trying to do something and you're not doing it perfectly, people will call you out and pick on you and being oh, but you're a hypocrite because you're doing this, but you're talking about this and blah blah blah. Whereas if you don't engage at all, no one's going to be there oh, you're being really unenvironmental, because it's person or even a topic they're associated with in any way. So I think that's probably why people avoid it.
Unfortunately, we run a bit out of time.
I'm sorry.
I don't like to miss your argument, but maybe we do it later, yeah? Because
I agree with her. I think making people into something which is to make people into something, you know, like, okay, I have lots of issues to talk about this, but I think artists are not always, you know, there's always the stereotypes and there's the reality, and I think there's big difference between these two things, like it's also with the scientists and the innovators and so on. So to go around these stereotypes and go away from them and I totally agree with Frankie, you know, it's like really impossible to make people to do something which they don't feel for. But what I think it's very important, especially the power position people, the people which they are organizing stuff, you know, like you guys, you have to be aware that, you know, if you give the opportunity and possibility, in the sense of money, in the sense of facilitation, in the sense of opening up institutions for these kind of topics, you will get also artists which they're working on that, you know, so it's kind of vice versa, you know, it's kind of, we all living in the ecosystem which we are kind of creating together, you know, also sometimes it's hard to get to some knowledge. So that's so I know you're running out of time.
thanks a lot, yeah, because we also would like to keep some time for the others to come. And now is done.
Okay.
So thank you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, we have a Pecsakucha presentation now from Valor, Hungary. Okay, thank you. It will be a short presentation, and after that we will continue the second discussion, and our topic will be art and innovation. And then we will have the long break.
Hello everyone. My name is Moderators, and Professor Daniel Lowy was supposed to give this presentation, but due to an emergency trip, he could not make it, so I'm going to be filling in for him. We work for Valor Hungary ZRT, which is a 100% state-owned organization. We actually belong to the Ministry of Innovations and Technology. And Professor Lowy put together a presentation on coping with plastic change, mainly because some of our most important projects, what we actually do is providing counseling and financial support to Hungarian innovators, scientists, on many different projects, and some of these projects include environmental friendly items, and they have to do with the environment and plastic waste, clean drinking water and such. So this is a painting found in the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, and the first question is, what would Van Gogh be? Would Van Gogh be inspired by the present sight of some of our beaches today? And this is a painting by Katsushika Hokusai. It's called The Underwave of Kanagawa. And a modern day artist redid the painting showing the polluted oceans, which actually made the cover of the Resource magazine. And here are some facts and information on plastic pollution in our oceans. At least 8 million tons, which is roughly 8 billion kilograms of plastic leak in the ocean every year. And this makes up to 1 garbage truck dumped into the ocean every minute, which has very severe consequences, obviously. Just as an example, 18 whales beached themselves at a young age, and their typical lifespan is 70 years. Estimated from available data, by 2050 in San Francisco Bay, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. And there is currently 1.8 trillion pounds plastic trash in the Pacific Ocean, which is roughly twice the size of the state of Texas, which is the sum surface of France, Spain, and Italy combined. There was an article, a scholarly article in India, which sort of compared the so-called advantages and disadvantages